So the new year's coming, and I figured I'd just make a video, not really anything too crazy, but just a video of this car. And I've noticed a lot of people have been making videos about the things they hate, the things they love. So I'm gonna do 10 things I love about my FD. The first thing when it comes to these cars, this is a 93 RX-7. The first thing when it comes to these cars that most people love is the actual body. So we'll start there. Number one, the body. So the RX-7 has gone through quite a few changes through the years, and this was the last version of it, and in my opinion the best version of it. So some people will argue, but I think it's unanimous. This body style is just to die for. It's a timeless body style. It has curves and direction and motion that just stands out from the rest of the cars designed from this era. So number one, that body style. It actually shares the same body style as a couple of other cars that copied it, in my opinion. One of those is a C5 Vet. It's got almost that same look, but this car came from that Daytona shape. So body style is definitely up there. The second thing I love about this car is right here under the hood, and that is this engine. So let's go ahead and take a peek. As everybody already knows, all the RXs, the R stands for rotary. So this is number two, in my opinion. When it comes to these cars, this rotary engine is just something else. It's the soul of the car, and some people might even argue that it's number one on the list. But for the sake of moving from looks to this engine is just completely different than anything else. If you've never driven or never had a rotary engine car, you just probably won't understand. But long story short, the internals are completely different. It doesn't use pistons. It's got rotors, no valve train. It's all ports, so it just spins to wherever. There's no reciprocation. It all moves in a pitrocoid shape. So really a cool thing, really a different thing that sets it off. And that's the second thing that I love about my RX-7. On to number three, the interior. So the interior of this car is dramatically different than any other car and RX-7 before it. The cockpit is driver centric. It does not have like a center line that divides the two sides. The barrier here in the middle is actually all driver, and it extends outward. The passenger cannot put his arm on that. You put your arm in that area and it cramps the driver space. So the driver's side of this car is completely in tune with the driver itself, and it really does give a unique experience when driving the car. For the passenger, you don't have much room, so tough. But this car is really not built for passengers, so to speak. So it's a race car at heart, and that leads me into the next favorite thing about this car, and that is the heritage. This car drives off of a lineage of racing and design that really doesn't exist anymore. It's a very driver-oriented experience, and it doesn't use any electric nannies or any kind of extra equipment to dumb down the experience. It's visceral and it's very natural. So it's definitely important on this car. The interior and the experience as a driver, 100%. So if you've never driven one, I highly recommend it. You definitely want to sit in the cockpit of one of these. The sounds that you get, the feelings that you get, it's very tight. You're very connected to the car. You almost feel like you put on a car instead of got into it. So Really a cool experience for anybody who's never driven one before. And if you check out some of my other videos, you'll see me driving around. But for this video, I'm just going to walk around and talk around. So, next up, number 5, handling. This car handles like no other. The body is very, very rigid, and it's very connected. Everything is helping each other to achieve an extremely well-balanced handling package. So you couple that with the engine, which is making 300 wheel horsepower, and it really turns this 2,700 pound car into an experience. And this one is a little lighter than the others because it is an RZ. It is a real RZ, and that makes for a little bit more handling experience because it comes with 17-inch BBS wheels from the factory. So a little bit different than the rest. And that's okay by me. It really does help out in the handling. 16-inch wheels, which are what come on the US models and all the other models from the factory, just really aren't enough. You can't really get any cool tires in that size, so it's just a limited experience. But with the 17s, it brings that way back to the top. And the next thing, which I guess is kind of like a love or hate on it, is the sound. The sound of this car is, again, completely different. It's a bit of a I don't want to say ricey sound, but it is definitely not a V8 or muscle sound. It's a pretty different sound. We'll start it up so you can hear a little bit of that. Nice and bassy, has a great tone, and with a little bit of revs, it's not quite like a 4-cylinder sound. It's got a bit of a cool rasp to it, so very unique, very different, and number 6 on my list. That brings me to number 8. I love this exhaust. So maybe it's not RX-7 specific, but neither is this video really. It's 10 things I love about my RX-7. And I can tell you right now, this titanium exhaust, this Feed Sonic TI, is one of my favorite things. It is, again, super unique. It's not that loud, but it's all titanium. It weighs nothing, and the stock exhaust system probably weighs 35 pounds or so, and this thing weighs about 10 pounds, if that. So definitely another great thing I love about this car. And not far off from that, we get to the wing. So the wing is just awesome. This is a Feed Type 2. It's an adjustable wing, so it actually has the center section that moves. You can see you can actually change these different points here to get it to sit at different inclinations, and that increases your downforce, which in turn makes, obviously better handling depending on the situation that you're in. But the Feed Type 2, definitely one of my favorites, and that's why it's on this car. It doesn't go too far off of the factory body lines, which I love. You can see it follows that rear bow, and it also doesn't stick up real high, so it's not something that's obtuse or weird looking. It kind of just adds to the flow of the car, and I just love it. I think it's really good looking. So we'll add that to the list of things I love about this freaking car. And then on the next side of that is the brakes. Now, it's not the biggest brakes in the automotive world, but it's definitely not bad. Single piston in the back, 4 pistons up front. You don't need much in the back though, because when this thing starts to stop, the back will definitely lock up pretty quick. So that's Another big part of this car, braking. You need to be able to stop. Going is important, but stopping is probably more important at the end of the day, because if you can't stop, you're gonna hit something, and that's never gonna end well. So really a nice balanced setup. Still using the ABS, which I'm not a huge fan of, but on this car, it really doesn't hurt too bad to have. So it does help a little bit with extreme braking. And also I've added a master cylinder brace here, so that keeps the master cylinder from flexing on a firewall. Just gives it a little bit tighter braking altogether. So braking, that's definitely a big plus on this car. Number 9 on the things that I love about this car, taillights. So most cars, taillights are not really a big deal. They're kind of, I don't know, generic, boring, whatever you want to call it. But on this car, it's something special. I love the circular design from the 99 spec, and these cars don't actually come with that in the early models, but I added it on this one, so I love it now. And it's really, really cool. I love circular taillights, and the way that they integrate into this form-fitting factor here, it's just, I don't know, it's perfect. It's like, it adds to it. In case you haven't noticed, I really love this car. I've always loved this car, and I can't really find too many reasons not to love this car. So, and by the way, sorry for the clickbait title. Maybe I'll do one with actual things I don't like about the car, but it's gonna take me a while to figure those things out. For now, it's just stuff I love. Oh man, look at that carbon. That's it. That's gonna finish up everything. Those are the 10 things I love about this car, and I hope you guys like it too. And I hope you guys can't wait for the rest of what we're gonna be doing with it, because I'm gonna love more stuff about it the more things I do. And you should too. If you have one of these cars, drop me a comment. Let me know what you got. I'd love to see yours. And if you don't have one, hurry up and get one.